Paul Chastain from the Velvet Crush, and also the new
Yes.
group, the Small Square, and his
Yes.
new album out called Ours and
Yes.
Others. It seems to be a different tone from a debut album, but let's start at the beginning and tell me how you got to meet up with John Richardson.
Well, John Richardson and I are from the same hometown, basically. I wasn't born there, but I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, as did he.
Mm.
And so we were, although we weren't like in the same school or anything, we didn't know each other until we started playing in bands in town, and so we both played in different bands in town, and we knew each other from that, and became friends. And he actually played on my very first solo EP that I made called Halo.
Mm.
He played drums on some of that, and that's the first recording thing we had done together. But so after that point, this is in the 80s, so after that point we knew each other, and we would hang out together and stuff. But we never really did a band project together or anything. So I lived in the East Coast for about 10 years doing Velvet Crush stuff. And when I came back from doing that, I wasn't doing Velvet Crush really anymore at that point, or at least not, anything seriously. So I was working on songs and stuff, and we just started kind of working on stuff together. I'd have him play on something or see if he wanted to work on some, writing some songs or something. And we were doing that kind of just real casually for a while. And then eventually we had a few songs, and I had some older songs for the first record that became the first record. I had some older songs that we kind of worked on together also, and did stuff to those. And I said, hey, we got like enough songs we should do, make this into an album, make it into a record. So we did. That's what became the first record. We recorded some stuff up at his house, and some old stuff that I had already done in Rhode Island, and stuff that I had done when I came back to Champaign. And we sort of kind of made it official right around then, and that was released in 2015. Initially, which was on a small label, Japanese label. And we re-released it just this year,
Right.
on John's label, which he just has started as kind of an arm of his studio, to give it some distribution, which it barely had before. And I used that kind of as a run up to the new record, which we had completed, prior to the COVID time. I think we had it pretty much all done by then. And then we were trying to get people to put it out. And then that happened. And then everything kind of got changed a lot. So it's been finished for a little while, and I'm glad we finally got a way to put it out. So we put both of them out in the same year. Maybe that was confusing, but I just felt like I wanted to get the other one established.
There's such a difference in tone between the first album and the new one. The first album, I know, has more of a Big Star influence. It's got songs that are completely different in tone. You have like these big sounds, like I guess there's a song, 5-9 song, which is like a huge, very big arena type sound. And you have like the smaller, more intimate sounds,
that song's really a mishmash of old stuff, like the song SML, Save My Life song.
Right.
That's a really old, like a demo that I did in Rhode Island. And I just always kind of liked it. I had my little ADAT studio set up, and I really liked the way some of it sounded, but I had played drums on it, which kind of ruined it. So I brought that out. I found stuff like that, stuff that I just had been hanging around. I thought, God, I always kind of liked this, but I never properly did it, or I didn't think of it in a serious way. And so there's a few songs like that I did bring out, and John added real drums to that, because he's really good at adding stuff to an existing track. He can just kind of fit into it and do it somehow, which was great. So, and SML became one of sort of my favorite ones on the record, but it was one of the older ones also on the record. Right. And then also some of the other stuff where it was like 5-9's a more recent recording that we did, together. And so it kind of spans all different forms of how we have worked and how we would be working. It was proto band, really.
Got it. And also I noticed there is the Japanese touch there. You have a song called Kimi no Boku no Eda, which is a manga right? Is the song about that?
It may be. I didn't name it that because that I'm not sure about the manga, but it means between you and me, and I just wanted to. It was about me and my wife, my future wife, who I wasn't married to, probably right when I wrote that.
I see.
Um, but yeah, maybe there is a manga. It means between you and me.
Oh, it's a great song as well. But going from the first album again, like I said, there's a big shift. It's
Yeah.
the new album, Ours and Others, is much more of a power pop album. I have to tell you that in similarity to Velvet Crush, everything you and Rick did on Velvet Crush, I loved. I mean, you can't find a
Oh,
bad
thanks so
song in
much.
your entire discography, as far as I'm
Oh, that's
concerned.
so
And
nice of
this
you.
and the small square yours and ours sort of continues that, quality legacy where I can't find any filler anywhere on this
Yeah.
album.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I work pretty slowly on songs, and I because I don't want to have ones that like are filler ones. I really,
Right.
and I think that's maybe
Most
from
artists
the
don't.
but I mean some people put a lot of stuff out, and I just go slower, and but that's one of the reasons because I end up either working on something for a long time to get it to because I can't give up on it, or I just say forget it. I just don't have a song, like, but probably that's from the Velvet Crush time when I don't think about it now, but I know in Velvet Crush we did think about like, these all got to bring it. We want all the songs to be there, and if it's not happening, it's just not happening. So we
Right.
worked on that stuff, and I think the work ethic continues over. And but I do work pretty painfully slow sometimes on stuff. Like I'll have a song tracked partially,
Right.
and just like some of the songs in that record even. So in fact, of several of them, like because John and I work remotely, right? I go to the States and we track stuff that I have, or if he has ideas.
Hmm.
And usually I have a limited time there. So what we do is, put drums on stuff at least, and some other, maybe I do some other basic instruments, or we work out the song because I bring over a piece of it, like,
Right.
or sometimes I have a song, this kind of complete demo of it, and then John's like, "Yeah, but can we do it a different way?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we deconstruct, like that song, for instance, that song "Insta" on the new record is called "Insta."
Yes. Yes.
That song, when I brought it in, it was sort of like it reminded me of like a Small Faces kind of a vibe,
Right.
like that kind of a mod pop thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I like this, but I want to do it a different way than that. Something, just I don't know what, but come up with something." So we just really tore it apart and basically used the form of it more or less, and did different vibes for it, different, a whole different way of approaching it. So, which was really fun. But
Cool.
yeah, a lot of them get finished much later on. Like I bring them back here and finish them, and then I mixed all the stuff here this time. And
Did you experiment with songs like before you actually recorded everything? Did you play anything live in Japan just to test it out with people or what?
we not so much. I don't remember doing that really, but one song, the song called "Open Up Closer." I don't know if you have the on the CD. It doesn't say
Yeah.
closer, but that was just a mistake, kind of.
Yeah.
But anyway, that song originally was called "Closer." That's why I wrote that, and
Mhm.
I wrote it when we did in 2015 or 16. We did a tour over here, a small square tour, the only tour we did really,
Mhm.
with Tommy Keene and Brad Quinn in the band. So it was basically like Tommy Keene's band with me and doing my song, our song, John and my songs, because John's it was in Tommy's band. So anyway, we did that over here. And so before that happened, I wrote this little piece of a song, which was kind of like the beginning of Open Up. It was the beginning, and I shortened it on the recording, but it was just like a sound check song, because you play these places where it's not really a club kind of, or it kind of is, and you don't have
Mhm.
time or you don't have somebody doing it. So it was like a sound check song. So the
Nice.
drums start, the bass comes in, a guitar comes in, a guitar comes in, there's a vocal thing, and it didn't really have a chorus or anything. It just was like this piece,
Mhm.
right? But I sort of liked it. It was kind of cool. So when I went to John's to do a session, then
Mhm.
at that particular session, we have all different kinds of sessions, but at that particular one, he had invited several of the side guys that he worked with in his studio. He has a commercial studio and
Right.
does projects for people, right? And he brings in these guys that are good players. And so they all like there was about four other guys there. And so what we did is we got a boombox out and I played the CD that had my demo things on it, about five or
Right.
six things, and that was one of them, that piece that I of my demo.
Right.
And we said what we let everybody kind of vote on the thing they wanted to work on. So they chose that song, and they chose the other one called Found Object, which is an old demo that I never finished, and then I finished it.
That leads
Anyway,
me
so
perfectly.
so
Yeah.
the song wasn't finished. They heard the piece of it, and I said, okay, that's cool. We can work on that, but it's not really a song. So we got to write a part. It needs at least another part. It needs like a bridge or it needs something. And so they said, yeah, it needs a bridge. Okay, so let's do it. So we all sat around and just like threw around ideas. And like about 20 minutes later, some chords happened, and that was enough to go. And so then we all recorded it
Excellent.
just on the spot like that. And then a lot of stuff happened to the song afterwards, but it was that was cool how that sort of just was spontaneously written. And then I wrote melody for that part kind of later on, not right at that moment. But that was one of those, we sort of like to do that where we get ourselves into a situation and have to get out of it. So that was like, oh, they chose a song that's not a song. So,
Let's
now we
turn
have
it
to
into one. Turn it into
but
something.
the thing about that is it's cool to get with if you have other people playing. We like to not just come in and say, okay, play this and then you play this. I don't want to do that because I could just do that. If I want them to play a thing, I can play that thing. You know what I mean? So I want them to do the thing that they do, that they're great at and they feel.
You want to do
That's what makes,
something they're comfortable with.
yeah, and something that they're feeling. I want them to bring that thing to there. I don't want them to try and do the thing I'm thinking of. Don't do my idea. The song is my idea. That's your framework. So they all vote on the song and then they're like, yeah, okay, cool. So that means they're, at least they're kind of into it at least. So we're like, okay, have your ideas. I want them to have ideas. And
Nice.
so we did it. I think to add to the chaos that session, we were also recording stuff to 2-inch tape. So there was another friend of ours there that had brought his big 2-inch machine. This guy Brad Matala, another
Mhm.
engineer. So we had a couple different engineers, and we had all that. That took some wiring and some weird stuff going on to record to Pro Tools Plus the 2-inch tape and all this stuff. So it was all, and there were like all these guys that we usually don't record with the whole band live in the studio.
Sounds
So we had like
crowded. Sounds crowded in
well,
there.
the studio's pretty good size. I got 2 rooms. I was playing acoustic guitar or like electric guitar, scratch guitar kind of, and then there was another guitar player, Corey Wong. There were 2 keyboard players. This guy's Kevin Gastangue, who's great, and this guy Ryan Leisman, and John was playing drums, and there was a couple of engineers, and it was a bit of a thing,
Nice. Nice.
but it
Well,
was fun, and they could
yeah.
get through the song pretty quickly. So we did a few takes, and then it was cool. We could move on, and we worked on another one that day called Found Object, and that one sort of more utilizes that band,
That
like
democracy. I like
yeah.
the,
So what?
yeah.
Open Up. This is a little bit of a story, but Open Up.
Yeah.
I wasn't pleased with how it really sounded like what we did. I was like, well, we tracked it. It's basically cool, but it's not. I didn't find the song yet. I didn't find what it's trying to be or something. So I kind of set that aside for a little bit. And later on, we had the idea of asking our friends in the band Shoes to help us on that. Said, hey, would you? John just called Gary up and said, Gary Khalid, and
Nice.
said, hey, we have this song. Would you guys want to sing on it? Like, today or tomorrow. They live like on the other side of Wisconsin from
Yeah.
John. They live like in Kenosha, which is the eastern side near Chicago. So anyway, Gary said, yeah, let me call the guys. And he called back, said, okay, we can do it tomorrow. So we like drove over and I played, we had the track there, and they made up parts and just recorded it at Gary has a little studio in his basement, and they just made their own parts up, sang them, and they sounded just like them, which was awesome.
That's
But I
great.
got to tell you, as soon as I heard their voices on the song, I was like, okay, I see where this song wants to go there, and that is where it's being brought, and that's awesome. And then a little later, I asked Gary if he wanted to try doing a lead guitar on it, which he did, which also made it even more because it really sounds like a Shoes thing because that's how he sounds.
Yeah, no,
But
that's great.
that song went through a huge transformation from one thing to the other. But to find it, we had to go through those paces. And I like how it sounded. I love having shoes on it and stuff. But my point was kind of that the other song, Found Object, really utilized the other players, Corey and Kevin and Ryan. And I think that turned out cool, but it's very different from, Open Up song.
Yes.
It's more, it's more of a kind of middle of the road burner, like a slow thing. And, but there's great stuff on there thanks to those guys. And we did that all live, without vocals. And so that
Nice.
was our big two songs I think we only did with the big session, but that's different, a thing we didn't do before, we hadn't done before on the first album either. We often have a guest, but never
Right.
like four or five of them at once.
Right. Speaking of guests, and I wanted to bring this up also because I know the last song on the album, Babyface, is about Tommy Keene. And I wanted to know if you had a good Tommy Keene story. We all miss him. And I got a chance to interview him, several years ago. But um, tell me your experience, an experience you had with Tommy.
Well, Babyface is one of his songs, actually. He wrote that
Okay.
song. And
Okay.
I did so the story of that, I can tell you that briefly. So for the last few pre-COVID years, the Matthew Sweet Band, of which I'm a part, has had would have Tommy Keene open acoustic solo for the shows. And so it was like a traveling, package deal. So we had Tommy, and then we had the Matthew Sweet Band, which was really great. It was awesome, and we all loved him and loved hearing his songs every night. So, but anyway, I started getting sort of obsessed with that song Babyface, which is an early song of his, and I really like the song. And his version's very different, of course. That's like more like a rock,
Yeah, I
rock
didn't.
song.
That's why I
But
didn't
I kept
recognize it
saying,
right
like,
away.
Tommy, you gotta play Babyface. Would you play that? I love that. You gotta do it. He's like, I can't, I can't really, I can't sing it like acoustic like that. I need to, if I had a band, maybe I could do it, but I can't. It's too hard to sing. It's so old and it's higher and stuff or whatever. He'd make excuses, but so he wouldn't do it. And I kept bugging him like every couple of days. I'd say it, and then I'd get it up on Spotify and I'd listen to it, and so it just became like a ritual. I would just mention it to him every day or so. So then we were all sort of heartbroken when he passed away, and
Hmm.
I had still been thinking about that song a lot. So I thought I'm going to track that song, and so I started working on it. And I thought I don't want to do it like a rock song like Tommy's version. I want it to be something different. And plus, I felt really sad. So I did this kind of acoustic, like a keyboard version with like a Wurlitzer and stuff at first, and that kind of changed into a synthesizer. But there's a weird thing about this song. It's going somewhere. Trust me, Aaron. Um, so I did that and I sent it to John. I said, hey, I got this. I did a version of Babyface. Could you put some kind of drums on it or something? It's kind of slow thing and whatever. He said, well, I got these two guys in here today, Adam Beard and Adam Allendorf, a bass player and a string, guitar and steel player.
Hmm.
And he said, so send it down and we can probably do it tomorrow. So I sent it and they did some takes of it, and that was cool. And at the end of the take that we used, they're like, it's ringing out, like the cymbals are ringing, so everybody's been quiet in the studio, and you hear the sound. It's like some like a song or something, right, coming from a distant phone speaker. And apparently what happened was somebody had their phone sitting like on a stool or a chair or something in the room where they were recording,
Right.
and it was playing one of Tommy's songs
Wow.
while they were doing that take. Like
That's
it wasn't
that's
in their
this.
pocket. It was like sitting somewhere. They had taken it out and it was laying there. And I don't know what triggered it, but it was playing this song called Compromise, which is one of Tommy's songs that John used to always play live with them a
Right.
lot. And so if you listen to the recording, I put it in there and it's pretty faint, but at the very end of the fade out thing, you can kind of hear that sound, and that's actually live what really happened
Wow.
during recording the drums and the
That's a
bass
nice
of
little
it.
Easter egg in there.
And it
Oh,
was crazy, and they were
yeah.
freaked out because it was really just right after Tommy had passed away, and everybody was well aware. Adam, the guy Adam that played on this song, played in one of Tommy's tours, one of the last tours he did,
Right.
and John played, with him forever. So they were like, "Oh my god!" Like it was very ghostly and weird, and but cool. And maybe
Yeah.
it was. approval that we did it or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of cool, and you mentioned you were in the Matthew Sweet band. Are you still doing any work with Matthew Sweet?
Yeah, he's maybe going to. He's had some health issues and stuff, and during COVID too, we didn't do anything. So, um, in the new year, I think maybe like in February, he might be doing a few shows to kind of see how it goes.
Hmm.
And like in the Midwest, I think is what they're talking about. So we may be doing a few then, and then if that goes well, like it's expected to, then more dates later on. And I'm sure we would hit the East Coast and stuff. But I don't know about any of that. I just know that they're talking about maybe some stuff coming up
Okay.
pretty soon, like a week or so of dates maybe. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that one.
All right. Very good.
And
Very good.
he's starting or has started a new record. I don't know what stage he's at exactly with that, but
All right.
doing something towards it. Yeah.
That's
So
good
that'll be
news.
forthcoming.
Very
Yes.
nice. Very nice. So also the one of the later songs in the album, North Main Blues, is about Velvet Crush and your experiences there, which is it's actually a little funny, how you talk about, yeah, you're, wasting time down there and whatever. Tell me, is that one of the only songs about your experience in the band, or is there any other songs in on this album that are a little bit about your experience in Velvet Crush?
That's probably the only one that I ever did like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that happened. I just thought of it. And the name North Main Street. I used to live. Rick and I used to live just off of North Main. Rick Menk and I
Hmm.
in Providence near the Pawtucket border in this like really sort of crappy little house, and so that's why I called it that. But yeah, it was kind of about that and the hazily remembering some of the stuff and references to it. It wasn't not directly about it, but definitely referencing it and inspired by that too.
So in relation to, Velvet Crush, you basically haven't really had a new album since 2016. I guess you've re-released a few things. Actually prior to 2016, even before that,
2008 was
2004 was
yeah.
like Stereo Blues was the last studio album.
Yeah, right.
And then you started re-releasing, I guess, Teenage Symphonies to God in 2016. And is the band like kaput, or is it just on a hiatus? What's the future look
Well,
like?
we have recently been playing, and we're sort of we just got last month we did a tour of Spain to kind of celebrate the vinyl reissue of Teenage Symphonies that we did, 30th
Right.
anniversary of that. And we did a little reunion thing in 2019. And prior to that, and since then, Jeffrey and I kind of have been working on songs together once again. And
Mhm.
so after the Spanish tour, this last time, everybody felt like we should think about getting something together for a new record. So,
Wow.
and I mean, like in a serious way, Jeffrey and I had been thinking about it all along, kind of like trying to get material and see what kind of stuff we might come up with nowadays, because it's 30 years later. So, it's different. But anyway, so we had talked about it with Rick just briefly when we were in Spain, but we want to sort of put forward something, and yeah, we're going to try and get some stuff recorded this coming year. So yes, and but we have been sort of on hiatus. We haven't played at all, but the Spanish tour was really fun and went really well. We had our old friend, someone you probably know, Dave Gibbs from the Gigolo Ants,
Oh yes, the Gigolo
and
Ants, absolutely.
he used to do much touring with us back in the day as our fourth member, and we asked him if he would like to relive that experience for a couple weeks in Spain, and he agreed. So that was really fun because I had
Oh,
not seen him
nice.
really in years and years, and he's awesome. So that went really well. I wish I could
Cool.
have seen some of that, but it was kind of
Oh, another
far.
another player that you work with really well, that one of also my guitar heroes, John Mormon. What songs is he on?
Well, unfortunately, he's only on the one song, but I
Oh,
love John
okay.
playing on that song. He's on the first song called 23rd,
23rd. Okay.
and I have him on another song that was post that record. But I really like the thing that's great about John is he totally gets what I'm doing, and he's a real feel guy. Like he just plays. He lets it flow out kind of. And so I had that song. The song 23rd was originally an idea of
Oh,
John
okay.
Richardson, John Richardson's thing. So I came to a studio. He had this little piano bit. I said, "Oh, I like this. We should make this into something." So he said, "Well, I only have this one part, basically, which is sort of like two parts, really."
Hmm.
And so he did that. So I sat down and I made up another part. And so we thought, okay, let's put it in an order and record it. So we did that, and we did it by playing a real piano and doing it at the same time. So he played his part, and then he would like hold the key down so it sustains. And I sat down and played the bridge thing. And then
Nice.
I would get up off the bench. He came back down and finished out the song, even though, yes, we could have done it differently in this modern day. But it was funny and fun to do it that way. So, anyway, we had that basic stuff of the song done. And I kind of had even a mix of it going. And I thought, it just isn't, there's just something missing and I don't know what to do. And I thought about it for a while. And in the meantime, I had done a couple of tours with John Mormon,
Hmm.
with Matthew, because he played in the Matthew band he
Yes.
plays off and on with us. And he's great. And he's the greatest guy, And I said, "Hey, I got this song." We were hanging out one night and I said, "I got this song. And I wonder if you'd take a stab at playing on it, playing just like second guitar on it and lead, and see what happens. And no pressure if you don't feel it, that's cool." And when he got back, to San Francisco, he did it and sent it to me, and it just was like one of those, it was like instantly I put it in
Awesome.
the track in my session. I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. It was one of those other like the shoes kind of moment. It was like, oh, this is just exactly what I mean, this is right now. This works in my brain now. And his part was so great. I didn't do anything. I just kind of let it be in the track, and it really, for me, gave the track the thing I was missing, which I didn't even know what it was, but it was great. And I would happily, and I plan to ask him to play on other stuff in the
Very
future,
good.
because it was
Very good.
so easy, and he really connects and knows, he knows what I'm trying to do. I
All
feel
right.
so
Well, the awesome.
awesome. Yeah, here I am.
Okay. All right, great. I just
Okay.
want to close it out.
Anyway, thanks.
Thank you so
Well,
much
thanks
for,
for having me, Aaron. I appreciate talking to you, and thanks for reviewing the last record too. That was very nice of you.
yeah, anytime you have anything, you're fascinating. I want to talk to you again. So at some point in the future, let's do this again, and we'll talk about your newer stuff, your stuff with Matthew, your stuff, anything with the Velvet Crush at all. Just let me
Okay,
know.
great.
Domo arigato. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll talk to you soon. And we'll be listening to the album, which is called Others, Hours and
Hours
Others
and others.
by the
Yes.
Small
Thank you.
Square. So
Thanks, Aaron, man. Thanks.
take care. Bye.